Massive spoilers in 3, 2, editor, play Nightglow. Alright, hey guys, MrPokke here. I think this is probably gonna be my last video for this early access. If this video gets like 1,000 likes, I'll probably do a very quick one for the upcoming anomaly arbitration, where we talk about the swarm scarabs, right? But other than that, I'm like a little bit tired, so I kind of want to just take a chill a little bit. So this will be the latest upcoming Memory of Chaos 12 boss, which you guys are going to be facing in the Star Wars Mode expansion very soon as well. And I'm guessing we're probably going to be facing her in the version 4.3 story. Yes, she literally does not have a name, but I don't think this character needs any introduction, because I'm pretty sure, 99.99% sure, that is like, you know, Himeko. Now, one very important thing that for this particular boss, I'm just going to be calling her Himeko from now on, is that they are going to be from the Imagine faction. So this is actually a pretty interesting lore drop, especially for those of you guys who are not too much into the lore. She is going to be part of the same civilization or the group of units which you are going to be encountering in Planet Arcadia that exists on Wish Power. Now, I'm not really a lore YouTuber, but I do have like quite a decent level of understanding for like how HSR lore works. So I'll talk about this a little bit later, but just talking strictly from the design of her actual units, the Fire Astral Express, the one that her massive body is going to be on, the ultimate pose, right, the dress, the hair, even the train that she's pretty much on. The only thing that's going to be missing from this particular unit is pretty much going to be, you know, her coffee, right? And she does appear to be holding some sort of like a brush, which is very reminiscent of how the entire lore of Planet Arcadia is like, which is Graphia, the very first like quote-unquote painter. It kind of reminds me of a little bit like Expedition 33, where like they essentially painted Imagine into their existence. And because Himeko here is also going to be holding a brush, and you can see from her actual in-game attacks that her quote-unquote like canvas behind her actually comes to life to attack you, right? So that might tie a little bit about her lore towards the story in 4.3 later on. I just want to say this particular spot where they like censor out this part, if you just zoom out a little bit more, you can kind of get a sneak peek at the, you know, so if you're into that, you're gonna be into that. I would say her abilities are mainly gonna be from the two summons, which is the God Devourer, the two little clown guys. I'm just gonna call in the clown guys, which I will also explain later on. Quite a decent amount of this crowd control thing called Grudge Ablaze, as well as her AoE damage, right? Just a little bit more from Mr. Lore himself. We do know that the Imagine, they are different from the units we encounter individually. So for example, our Himeko in the Extra Express, I am almost certain that she's not going to be the same Himeko as the Imagine Himeko that we see right here, because based on the traditional text in-game, it relies on wish power to sustain itself. So if it's not bathing in the light of the Phantasm Moon, it will vanish soon. So unless you're telling me the reason why Himeko never left the Astral Express is because we have some kind of a Planet Arcadia Phantasm Moon device hidden in our Astral Express, which is why our Himeko was able to stay alive for so long, then there shouldn't really be any reasons why our Himeko is gonna be an Imagine as well, right? So that's pretty much gonna be that. Also, we have seen from her holding the little paintbrush, the canvas and tapestry in the back, and how she summons more Imagine to attack for her. She might be potentially tying some additional relations with Graphia. So we'll definitely know more about this particular unit in the 4.3 story, so stay tuned to find out more. I'm just gonna be calling her Evil Himeko, so it is what it is, right? So the other unit that I kind of want to talk about the design, and that is going to be the God Devouring Offspring. Also, at this point of the video, I think this is the first time I've actually done like a little bit more of like a Mr. Lore drops with regards to the enemy design and their characters. So if you like these kind of content, just let me know down in the comments as well. We are going to be doing them very soon. So taking a look at this particular enemy, it kind of looks like a clown with this little gift box as a weapon, but upon closer look, right, you might think this is going to be Bro's face, but it's actually not, because Assad Pramat actually removed his face, and this is actually where his actual mouth is, which can be having a lot of ties to the jaws of veracity. So at this point, just gonna be another Mr. Lord drop over here. Lord Ravager, Asapromat, they are gonna be known as emanators of Nanook, which is gonna be the Aeons of Destruction, serving as the leaders of the Antimatter Legion's troop. Now, following the downfall of Iron Tomb, there are only 6 active Lord Ravagers, but what I like to think of Asapromat, if you guys watch 100x100, you know who is Hisoka? So Hisoka basically cosplays himself as like a member of the spiders, right, the Kumos, but he really is not an official member because the tattoo on his back is actually gonna be, if you guys watch the anime, it's gonna be the Bangigan, right? Also, your editor, help me add like spoilers for HXX in case you guys don't watch HXX. But I like to think of like how this particular name, which is God's Devourer Offspring, it suggests that their creator, Asapromat, might have devoured the gods. Because this creator is very clearly shown in this text that they are made from Asapromat. So despite being a Lord Ravager and emanator of Nanook himself, this might signal that Asapromat might have a strong correlation with veracity, which is gonna be potentially Bro's true path. And I think that might be a little bit of a reason here, because why else would they introduce the elements of veracity, especially with the Astral arc, as well as how we encounter the signifying the remains of Ouroboros towards the planet Arcadia. So I don't want to talk about it too much. Again, this is not a lore channel, but I just thought it was very interesting. And you can see from this particular text right here, he erased the human heads, leaving only grinning, devouring mouths that howl, demand, and consume without end, right? So very interesting over there. So with the design of the brand new units coming out of the way, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the MOC buff, as well as how you're going to be encountering these units in MOC before doing a live demonstration with an example later on for the last part of our video. So number 1, the Memory of Chaos buff, Academy Ghost Story buffs both ultimate as well as follow-up attack damage, adding true damage per ultimate and follow-up attack hit each wave. So this is not to be confused with the current Memory of Chaos wave we have right now in this current server as the time for recording, because for that is increasing your ultimate crit damage by 50%. So this buff is definitely going to be very good shields for M-Blade, Akron, Phainon, Tribbie, or any ultimate / follow-up attack based DPS. Another thing is gonna be that this true damage per wave, they can be counted as a bounce damage. So ideally, you either let all of them hit the boss for the maximum amount of boss single target damage, or you can actually make use of this Memory of Chaos debuff to damage the summons and clear the mobs just for your units to deal a little bit more direct damage to the boss themselves. So with that out of the way, I'm just going to be talking first about the God Devourer Offspring as well as Bro's mechanics, followed by Evil Himeko, right? So for the God Devourer Offspring, I'm just going to call him, like I said, the clown guy. This special mechanic is going to be tied to 2 things, Satiated as well as Devour, right? So Devour is going to be Bro's main mechanic where he basically aims one of your target and it will restore, or rather consume 50% of your max recoverable HP as well as 1,000 attack. Now you can see that after he devours your unit, you can see this buff tied to the God Devourer Offspring as Satiated, where you can see there's like a lot of like yapping, but TLDR, he will steal your attack, and if you can hit this guy 6 consecutive, or rather 6 times, the last person to hit God Devourer Offspring is gonna be able to get a flat 500 attack buff. So for every single time you hit this guy, so per 1/6 stack is gonna be always 1/6 of the stat stolen. So you can see from 50% HP and 1000 attack, after taking one single hit, it is gonna be 42% max HP as well as 833 attack. And then at the very end of the hit at 1 out of 6, you get this 500 flat attack buff for whoever who did the last hit, and it doesn't have to be the one that got devoured in the first place. Now, another very interesting thing for this attack boost from the Devoured is that the buff is actually stackable. So it is very good for attack scaling DPS to always be the one hitting the last 1 out of 6 hits. Think of how you want your units of energy regeneration to hit the 1 out of 6 war armor enemies back in M4s, right? Aside from that, this enemy in particular has a lot of AoE, so it is very nice for Mortenning's Blade or overall energy regeneration for your entire team. The only potential issue that you might face when facing this guy is that if your units gets devoured, your sustain might actually not keep up with the burst damage specifically from the other elite, even if that unit is gonna be pretty tanky. So you can see from this little clip over here, my Cyrene got targeted by the God Devourer Offspring. She loses 50% of her max HP, and then afterwards, the yellow elite actually one-shotted my Cyrene. and there is a HP scaling DPS. So we actually brought our global passive, right? So that is the only thing that you need to be a little bit wary of, which is continuous attacks without a proper sustain. And even though I did in fact use like a sustainance here, if you do not want to run a sustain, it is definitely going to be very, very risky to go into this fight without like at least I would say Hyacinth or a DHPT, right? So that is pretty much going to be that for the God Devourer Offsprings mechanics. This is the base version, and then there's going to be another summon version from Himeko, the evil Himeko. She summons 2 different ones, but for those enemies, they don't actually cast off that debuff, at least not the ones that I've seen so far, so it's gonna be a little bit more straightforward. And now speaking about evil Himeko, this is gonna be the time for our, final lesson. Himeko's boss is actually relatively straightforward, with the main gimmick being her crowd control SP Gamba thing called Grudge Ablaze, as well as her 2 summoned God Devourer Allsprings. So for the boss itself, Phase 1 and Phase 2 is almost the exact same, minus the unavoidable Astral Express ultimate that instantly activates at Phase 2, not waiting for a timer unlike AoE Arcalotus, Firefly Sam, Pom Pom, or whatever it's going to be, right? So the moment you reach Phase 2, boom, you're just going to get a serious, massive, basically I'm guessing Astral Express from like the Imaginary or the Tapestry, which kind of reminds you of like Hell, like the evil version of everything. So that is going to be that, which will almost certainly crowd control some of your units, because it's just going to be a huge AoE with no ways to actually avoid this. So if you did not proc a single crowd control in Phase 1, then Silver Wolf's global passive can cleanse this immediately, so this is going to be pretty good for a 0 cycle and reduce your skill point RNG. Other than that, you actually cannot cleanse this with traditional cleansers like Hyacinth or DHPT or Huohuo, so you have to play with the Grudge Ablaze mechanics. So now about the actual mechanics that's going to be tied to your evil Himeko, Grudge Ablaze. This is pretty much going to be a special debuff that will, number 1, burn your units for a fixed amount of HP. So that's going to be seen from this little red thing over here. And then you can choose to either endure the flames or extinguish the flames. So you can see from this little description, if you choose to endure the flames, you'll recover 1 skill point, skip this turn, and you gain fortitude, which are going to be reducing the damage taken. So you don't really remove this debuff, but at least you get yourself this a little bit more of the damage taken. So you skip this turn in order to get that, a bit of a safety, right? Or you can extinguish the flames by consuming 1 skill point, which will have a chance to immediately dispel Grudge Ablaze and takes fire damage if you cannot dispel this. So this turn will not end, and it will increase the probability of the dispel by 33%, or rather 33.33% every single time, meaning that maximum you only need 3 skill points to fully guarantee this dispel, right? But if you do fail, that is going to be minus 3 skill points, as well as taking quite a considerable chunk of fire damage for your unit. So I would say generally, whether or not you want to endure or do you want to extinguish, it really depends on your skill points, but ideally you should always extinguish this as soon as possible, or you lose a lot of action value from your units, because like I mentioned, every single skill point raises the probability of success by 33.33, so at most it's just going to be 3 skill points. Now keep in mind, this damage that you're going to be taking if you fail to extinguish, like I mentioned, is a considerable amount. So you can see over here, we are going to be taking 1556 damage on Hyacinth. And because you forfeit a damage taken reduction, there might be a chance that your unit actually dies on the enemy's next hit. You can skip this Grudge Ablaze debuff in Phase 1 if you can 100 to 0 Himeko in the very first phase, but generally this is not going to be possible with a sustain, so you kind of want to just play this mechanic, right? Or other than that, you could also use anti-crowd control units like Phainon to bypass this mechanic entirely, which also ironically makes Phainon a super good and consistent fighter against Himeko here, despite not having physical weakness. Or you could just pray for the RNG, because you can see from the description here, it is going to be a high chance to inflict a Grudge Ablaze, not guaranteed chance. So if you have a good RNG, then they just don't get crowd control period, so that's going to be that. Now, aside from the Grudge Ablaze, the 2 mobs that she's going to be summoning, it is pretty much going to be the same God Devourer Offspring you see in the first wave, except that they don't actually hit you with the Devour mechanic. They will simply just attack you, right? So it's just a simple 1 target attack, and then they have a chance to apply defense down, which means that your unit is going to be very, very squishy if you're not going to be dealing enough sustain for your team. So the summons themselves, they also come with this additional benefit called Beyond Human Realm, where if you extinguish your Grudge Ablaze, you deal more damage to Himeko as well as recovering some skill points. Now, personally, I would try to gamble the Grudge mechanic every single time, even if it hurts your unit, especially if the God Devourer Offsprings has been summoned. But I find this interaction or this buff not very useful, because Himeko only summons them after applying the Grudge. So you basically need to wait for one entire cycle, or rather one entire turn, before you can make use of this actual buff, both in phase 1 as well as in phase 2. So I will view this as like a last ditch effort if you have no skill points left to immediately extinguish the grudge on application. So you endure one turn until the clowns get summoned to the field, and then you extinguish them to get the benefits. So before we move on to the actual team comms as well as the live demonstration, kind of a little bit of like a real life experience if you want to talk about live lessons. So would you want to endure or extinguish the grudge that has been in your life? Food for thought, right? So overall, a relatively straightforward boss compared to a lot of the other ones we've covered so far, like Ailwish, Sparksy, Pom Pom. Their mechanics are like very long. So this one is definitely going to be a lot easier, which means that you're not going to be having as much shield environments. Generally speaking, most units should be able to deal with this Grudge Ablaze unless they use a lot of skill points. So for some team comms in your consideration, you can definitely use Acheron, Emblade Wheelchair, Asheville, Phainon, Remembrance Flagship, Super Break, DOT. I would just try to use more skill point training teams over here just to play around with the grudge mechanic in case you actually fail. Otherwise, you could just gamble either from not applying the grudge, getting the grudge on the first turn, or you just 100-0 doing a sustainless clear. Now remember, the Memory of Chaos buff this time is gonna be for your ultimate and full up attack damage, so you can definitely use those units to make your life easier if you really cannot deal with the amount of damage that Himeko is gonna be doing. Alright, now we're just gonna do two different live demonstration of the Himeko boss fight right now. We'll do one half with a team comp that I personally think is probably not gonna be doing too good because they do consume quite a lot of skill points, and that is gonna be my man Mr. Archer over here. And then after this, we're gonna transition to another unit. I'm probably just gonna end up using my E2 Phainon because I kind of want to just see how E2 Phainon is just gonna absolutely pop off and destroy Himeko. So that is pretty much gonna be there. And again, for Star Wars mode, you can actually skip past phase 1 and jump immediately into phase 2 without basically wasting time on any of the earlier stages, which is always going to be very nice, right? So this is going to be done with a E1 as 1 Archer, E1, or rather E2 as 1 Sunday Lightcone Sparkle, E1 as 0 Tribbie, as well as a E0 as 1 DHPT, right? I'm probably gonna guess this is gonna be quite annoying because of the amount of skill points we're gonna be using, as well as just basically not really playing into Himeko's mechanics. But maybe with the amount of items we have, it is probably, maybe that just might be able to survive there. So we'll just see how that is gonna be going. Goes in for one more of the ultimate. Gets us to 9 skill points. Tribbie cards a full up attack because I do want to get myself the Tribbie full up as well. Sparkle can just cast the ultimate immediately because I do want to essentially get my Tribbie's E1 field. This is gonna let go of busy as Tribbie. Okay, so we're just gonna cast one skill. Okay, let's get rid of this guy because if that guy survives, we can get ourselves a 500 attack buff, which is gonna be quite beneficial for overall damage, especially as attack scaling DPS like Archer himself. Our damage over here is looking absolutely substantial, so I don't think we need to worry about that too much. I'm probably gonna actually overkill this, so let's just go for one hit on the Clown Devourer. Alright, 900k is absolutely insane. Gets us another hit, and then we're just gonna do one more skill on this guy, getting us the kill. Very good. Dragon is gonna come in, do a follow-up attack. Okay, then see if we can get ourselves the last hit for Archer. So that is 6 out of 6. This is gonna be 5 out of 6. You can see that DHPT gets devoured, but every single time we hit this guy, it's gonna be minus 1/6 of a stack, and then the buff to this guy is also gonna be reduced by 1/6. This is mainly just gonna be for the HP, so don't really worry about it too much. So this is gonna be 4 out of 6, and then we're just gonna come in, and then my Archer will definitely get a kill. Hopefully we actually keep this guy alive until 1 out of 6, but I don't think it's gonna be possible. I don't know if you actually get a buff if you kill him beforehand. Let's find out. Okay, so you still do get a buff if you kill him before him, which is actually really good. So you do not actually need to land 1 out of 6 if you could just simply kill him, right? But you do need him to cast a Devour first, which is why I will definitely save up the God Devourer for the last unit to kill before entering into next wave. So this is going to be very nice for us over here. Unfortunately, we are completely out of skill points, so we kind of just need to do our basic. Alright, this is going to come here. Okay, Garage Aglaea is gonna pro, which means we are gonna end up using our global passive. So our Pom Vase, we are basically just gonna have to pray, right? Let's just first cast myself the Sparkle Ultimate, because it is gonna be on Sunday as one. Then we're just gonna do that. We can get off an ultimate right now, so I can get a little bit more energy for DHPT. And then we are just gonna start slamming this in. 600k, 800k, quite a considerable amount of damage. Holy shit, that is an insane amount of damage right there. And I think we might be able to just completely bypass this wave right now. 5%. This is gonna be okay, good. 2%. Very, very awkward scenario, if I can say so myself. Yes, this is very, very awkward. There might be a possibility that if we were to get hit on Tribbie, then we can get ourselves the kill with the AoE out. So let's see what's up. Okay, she summons the booms. Does not hit Tribbie. Does not hit Tribbie. Does not. Oh wow. Okay, that's just. Okay. I mean, if she's not gonna hit Tribbie, then it is what it is. At least we can let my archer hit this once here. So this is definitely gonna be phase 2. And yes, if she goes into phase 2, the God Devourers actually gets removed from the field. So that is very, very nice. Actually, is technically not too nice, because if she removes the God Devourer, you can't get the additional ability, which is the Beyond Human Realm. Right, Beyond Human Realm, which means that you can't actually get a skill point refund. But we're just gonna slam all in before she casts the Astral Express. I think I literally just missed my crit. Okay, very, very exceptional over here. And then we are gonna be able to get an ultimate, and then we are just gonna slam this on. Unfortunately, not quite enough for a 0 cycle, but we do have a little bit of a skill point refund, which is always quite nice. AoE hit, let's see if we can dodge it. Okay, unfortunately, we do not dodge. Okay, so this is the part where like, you kind of just have a gamble. If you have to spend a skill point to recover, fantastic. But if you do not spend this skill point to recover, then it's like, wah. Okay, that is actually really, really good. So we are going to be going in with our ultimate right now, which means we get ourselves the Archer full arm attack. Tribbie is going to land an AoE. I would say if I make my Sparkle a little bit faster, because once again, I didn't really speed tune this team for like 0 cycle anyways. I think this could have been a pretty decent-ish clear. Memory of Chaos buff is going to go in, and then we have 2 skill points. Pop this once. Okay, so we actually failed to extinguish. I kind of want to just show you guys what happens if I cast an Endure. Okay, so we gain Fortitude, and then this dispels for the next phase. But basically, you would have waited 55 AV for Sparkle to actually gain control of herself again. So, generally, I wouldn't really recommend it. If you can cleanse immediately, then I'll just go for the cleanse immediately. But that is going to be an example with our Archer team. But I'm just going to be so completely for real. I think that if we did not have enough of the whatchamacallit, either investments, for example, the E1 Archer, E2 Sparkle, as well as the E1 Tribbie. I did all this on my testings in like the Worth It series, so like it kind of is what it is. I don't think this could have been as easy of a clear as you guys have saw just now. But also to be fair, my gears are like, I just kind of just stepped on whatever. It's like 145 with Cerydra, right? This is like Quantum with like, I mean, this Quantum is actually not too shabby. So that's gonna be an example with an Archer clear. So now I kind of want to just go ahead and do another example. Frankly speaking, if I were to do E2 Phainon, I think we're absolutely gonna destroy this guy. But you know what, I am so addicted to using Phainon, I am just gonna go ahead and use myself the Phainon. Pop this over with the E2. Let's just get ourselves the Cerydra as well as Sunday, because I do have a E2 Cyrene here, which I, you know, if you guys have watched my streams, I just spent like 3 hours of my life playing like non-stop E2 Cyrene, so I'm lost and a little bit tired. So let's just try ourselves E2 Phainon without Cyrene and see where this is gonna be going. 134 speed, 145. Double Sunday S1 is actually a little bit insane. I don't really want to stack that much and keep things a little bit more relatable. So we'll go with S5 DDD. Cerydra is still gonna be here. We'll keep ourselves the energy regeneration rope, and then we'll just see how this is gonna be cooking right now. Sustain us on E2 Phainon. This fight, I think it should be relatively manageable unless we die on the first wave, because like I mentioned, the God Devourer consumes a lot of HP. So if we take too much damage, it is gonna be a bit of a yikes, right? A bit of a yikes. So Sunday is not gonna be faster than them. I mean, he's actually pretty far behind, but we do have ourselves DDD, so I don't think we should be that big of a concern here. Gets us the DDD, pulls out my Sunday, absolutely exceptional. Then Sunday is gonna bring me back up right now. Very, very good. Gets us the buff, very, very good. And then we can instantly activate into our Phainon ultimate. This is gonna be 5 out of 6, and then this is gonna be 6. So very, very standard Phainon opening. And then we are just gonna instantly jump into our ultimate. And then we'll pop open with the double enhanced scale. How much damage is that? 2.5. Gets us the extra turn because we are E2. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's actually a generational amount of damage. I kind of want him to actually survive. To see if I can stall for as long as possible. Because once again, if I actually kill this guy, I will get myself a stack of the attack buff. So that's going to be really, really good. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, this particular attack buff that we're gonna be obtaining right now, it actually does stack. So if we get this twice on the very first wave and we stall ourselves a little bit, it could have given us 1000 attack buff, which in our status screen is gonna be looking very, very impressive. Minus 102 attack, which is I didn't want to do, but we do have 8.5k attack now, which is absolutely absurd. Slams down our meteor. Gets us the extra turn, so we are just gonna go for the basic, then we are just gonna go for the basic, and then we're just gonna go for our extra turn with our 6 stacks of Cerydra. Holy shit, absolutely insane damage, instantly jumping us into phase 2, which is very, very nice. For this one, I'm just gonna be going for the basic once again, and because Phainon's immune to crowd control completely, I don't think it should be facing any issue here whatsoever. Goes for the basic again. And then we are just gonna be casting down our meteor right now, giving us another extra turn. I kinda think of pulling bro up just for her to summon, but I think we can tank this because my entire support team actually did not take any damage whatsoever. So let's just go for the basic for a little bit more damage. This is gonna transform. Not sure how many action value we. Oh, okay, that's a bit of a yikes. Say, unfortunately, we don't really have enough action value here. If my Cerydra had a little bit of ultimate or cast DDT, that potentially might have been our first try 0 cycle with a very, very badly optimized team for speed tuning. So I kind of air what to do. Sparkle gets it. If I stalled on wave 1 a little bit more, I think that could have been possible. So instead of doing the double enhanced skill, I just go ahead with like one single basic, maybe even like 2 single basics. For this one, I think I kind of have to go for the double, because if I don't go for the double, I'm not going to be getting my transformation. 600k double, and then once we get this, we are just going to transform back into Phainon immediately. I actually kind of want to show you guys how her second phase is, so you know what, I'm going to intentionally not kill her just for her to do the little tapestry attack, which I think is pretty cool. So we're just going to taunt, and then we'll do this at 1x speed. So this is gonna be a hit over here, and then she's gonna summon. This is the part, right? So she summons her tapestry, like the creations, like I'm guessing those are the imaginary, to attack you, and those hits actually can inflict your crowd control, which is gonna be the Grudge Ablaze. So something to be aware of. And yes, this time this clown's actually hit you twice, so that's a total of 6 consecutive hits, one shot. So if you do not have enough sustain for this, or you're not gonna be running Phainon, it will definitely do a significant amount of damage to your team. So if you're gonna be running sustainers, definitely highly recommend to just kill them as fast as possible before that particular move, right? So that is gonna be our E2 Phainon showcase, giving us the little perspective of what that's gonna look like. I think we'll just do one last clear over here just to kind of wrap up this entire video. Let me think about it. Okay, you know what? After fumbling around, I've decided I don't really have a chance to play with E1 Aglaea on the live server because unfortunately my main account does not have an E1 Aglaea. So you know what? Let's just try ourselves this Aglaea. I've never tried this ever in my entire life. So we're gonna do with Aglaea, Sunday, DHPT as well as our E2 Cyrene right there, just to see how this team is gonna be doing. My builds are definitely not optimized as well. I think I'm like 90% crit rate on the Aglaea with the speed kind of low-key all over the place. But once again, it's not really to get ourselves like 0 cycle or like very, very fast clears, just to kind of see the feels of this battle from the early access. Alright, so I'm just gonna be spamming my skills here so that we can get ourselves a little bit more stats of the dragon. Alright, and then we should be able to get ourselves the Cyrene ultimate relatively quickly. especially after our Mimo Sprite from Aglaea goes in. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and continuously attack this guy because, like I mentioned, I kind of want this guy to stay alive. Alright. Alright, we landed a Devour, which is actually really, really bad for us, TBH, because we lost attack there. So that is pretty annoying. I'm just gonna out on Cerydra, or rather on Aglaea right now, because we are about to transform with Cyrene. So we'll just go for a single basic, instantly cast ourselves the Garment Maker. And then we're just gonna go back in again. Dragon is gonna come back in. Alright, Dragon is gonna come back in. I believe I need to save this for Aglaea, because if I get off the stair right here, it's gonna be very, very wasteful. So we're just gonna instantly pop over our Cyrene ultimate right now. Gets us the full reset. And then we're just gonna give this buff to Aglaea. Let me just pop over the Aglaea out immediately, because I do want to get myself a stack. Alright, so we do get the Aglaea out. I mean, I have a Sunday out, so I might as well just use it right now. And then this is going to come into the God Devourer of Spring. 500k gets us our first attack buff, which is very, very nice. Kind of want to see if I can save this a little bit more, because I don't think my Aglaea needs the skill in particular. So we'll just let go of a DHPT out. Okay, I think God Devourer is going to land us the second combo to hit us again. Okay. Okay, so he's going to give that again. That's going to be a decent amount of AoE. Dispel of attacks as soon as possible. I'm pretty sure I am going to be able to get myself the ultimate right after this, so I don't think I should be too worried about it. Alright, get us another turn. Then we're going to use this for Aglaea. Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to be getting quite enough damage for the zero cycle, because this team is definitely a lot more relatable. Okay, we do get ourselves the Garment Maker for the additional attack. Okay, I guess that is a pretty fun indirection. So if Garment Maker gets the extra attack, it is gonna be a separate entity. So it is two different attacks, but I guess their stats still gets counted separately. So you cannot actually stack them on together, which I guess kind of is what it is. I mean, we can just go ahead and pop ourselves another Aglaea ultimate, right? Or rather Cyrene ultimate. So we're just gonna go in right now. Alright, and this is gonna come just for the highest possible amount of energy that's gonna be possible. Okay, very, very nice. Oh wow, okay, we barely just got enough to get us the damage. Okay, actually that guy was pretty chunky, so not quite enough to get us a zero cycle, at least with this current setup and team speed tuning, all the kind of stuff. But our energy is definitely going to be more than sufficient, so we are going to be entering into the next wave. Then we're just going to be casting our Cyrene out once again. And then we're just going to come back in. Okay, and then I'm just gonna instantly get myself the ultimate. Resets the extra turn. Garment Maker is gonna go as well. This is gonna expire outside of the cycle, but because we have E1 Aglaea, I don't think we should be like any big of a problem. Okay, she aims out Grudge of Blaze. First Silver Wolf Glow passive is gonna come, so it is what I do. Gets us the basic, gets us the action value advance, and we're just gonna come in right now. Dragon is gonna come here. Do get off an extra turn in just a second. Garment Maker goes in once again. Okay, our damage over here is definitely gonna be like a lot lower. I kind of want to see if I can grid out for one extra turn without using Cyrene, which I think is probably possible because we do have Garment Maker. Garment Maker comes this back up. Let me just get this right now, because I do get a little bit more than my Sunday. Next time, you definitely want to tune your Aglaea to be faster, by the way. This speed on Aglaea is a bit too slow. So we actually do not get a 2x plus 1 speed setup on Sunday. So just a food for thought in the future. Definitely give Aglaea more speed than this. Okay. Frankly speaking, I can just spam this just for a little bit more ultimate generation for my DHPT. And this gives me my ultimate. Then my Cyrene is gonna go in once again. And this will then give my Aglaea the extra turn. And then we are just gonna come in. Should be... Where did the dragon go first? Yeah, we'll cut in right now. And then this is gonna come in. So this damage is definitely looking a lot more relatable compared to the first two teams that we just did. Frankly speaking, I would say that considering this is its E1 Aglaea and E2 Cyrene, it kind of is what it is on 700k. This is going to be the third chain. We do get ourselves another Garage Blaze, so we kind of have to gamble that. Yeah, we definitely have. And yeah, once again, if your Aglaea is going to be speed tuned, probably you should be dealing a lot more damage. But I kind of just slapped this team out of nowhere, so it is what it is. Okay, Sunday, let's get ourselves the additional skill points that we're going to consume. Okay, so this is technically the worst possible scenario. But we do get the Dispel here, so that is quite nice. So flames are going to be extinguished. I believe we do get ourselves the ultimate. Okay, Dragon goes in. Instantly, she's going to transform, boost myself up right now. And then Aglaea will get another buff from Cyrene. Get a little bit more energy. Alright, Astral Express slams in. Let's see who gets crowd control. Okay, Aglaea didn't get crowd control this time, which I guess is pretty good. Alright, and then we're just gonna let this go. Not quite enough for the out, so it is what it is. Okay, this one we're just gonna cleanse. Ooh, that is really unlucky. So that was 3 skill points right there. So yeah, not too ideal if I can say so myself. I'm honestly just gonna go out with my Aglaea right now because I do cut around the Sunday since my speed tuning is honestly really bad for this Aglaea showcase. Okay, Cyrene is gonna come in. Sunday, we're just gonna gamble. Oh boy. Oh boy. That is really bad. Because if I do this right now, I can't even get a turn. Okay, you know what? We actually might end up... I kind of want to just see how much damage we're going to take. And if they actually kill my Sunday. So, in the art of limit breaking, let's go for it. Alright, in the art of limit breaking, right? That was purely for the art of limit breaking. So, we will just go for the basic. I mean, it is what it is. Not quite enough for the ultimate. It's either we do that or we don't get that +1 skill point anyway. So that was like a lot worst case scenarios because we lost the 33% chance like so many times. So let's just come in for my Aglaea. Also, to be completely fair to Aglaea, right, this buff, right, is not really too ideal since she's not gonna be an ultimate based DPS. So it is what it is. I should have cast my ultimate immediately there. Actually, that was a little bit of a hunger finger. So we'll do that. Get that. Let's slap this back down. Cyrene is gonna go in. Fortunately, the speed here is not gonna be looking too nicely, and we are gonna be getting crowd control quite heavily over here. Dragon comes back down. MOC debuff, please save me. Holy shit, our skill point is not looking too good. Yeah, so this is the true problems with Himeko, where if the fight drags on longer and longer and you keep losing these gambles. Okay, at least not this time, so that is pretty good. Yeah, if we lost that gamble, that would have lost like so much damage. That would have been kind of crazy, bro. Let's pop our ultimate immediately. And then we're just gonna go in right now. Okay, 900k, we do get the last 2 hits. Okay, Garment Maker goes in. I think with the amount of skill points we have here, we should be getting us the dispatch right now. Okay, we actually win our gambles here, so that is really good. This pops back down, 7% HP, also gets us a 12 out of 12. The summon guys here, I don't really care about them anymore because they are not going to be casting any of the debuffs. So with my one final action, Sunday pulls my Aglaea up. I mean, I don't even need a Cyrene out anymore. So bada boom, bada bang. And that is going to be, I believe, a 4-cycle dispatch against Evil Himeko. Running our E1 Aglaea team right there. So definitely not too ideal of a setup compared to the other units. But I also say this team generally is going to be like our lowest cost so far. And frankly speaking, the E2 Cyrene didn't really change that much for us since we didn't even manage to 0-cycle wave 1. So if we 0-cycle wave 1 and we have like way better speed tuning, that would have been way better, right? If this was 162 speed Aglaea with our current speed Sunday, that would have been way better, right? So Aglaea mains, please don't hate me. I literally just put together, I just press smart equip and it just come in. So man, it is what it is. But in any case, that is gonna be the end of our Himeko's early access server. What to expect from our final lesson as well as God Devouring Offspring. Let me know what you guys think of this video, and if we do get 1,000 likes, I'll probably cook one more for Anomaly Arbitration, and that's pretty much gonna be there. Oh my god, I need some sleep. Word of the day is gonna be final lesson. Join Twitch, join Discord, use code POKE, 10% off gamer subs. All the best for your gacha pools, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.